The child in the fogged rain had stopped, but the fog still covered the forest like a heavy blanket. Everything was quiet. No birds, no wind, only the sound of wet leaves under boots. Myra walked slowly, flashlight in one hand, the other gripping her pack. She had landed here 3 days ago, on a solo mission to collect plant samples for Earth's Science Council. It was supposed to be simple. No contact zones, no wild animals, just trees and silence. But now she heard it. A soft sound, crying at first. She thought it was a tricksome broken echo in the fog. But it came again, weak, scared. She stopped, her breath held, then she moved. Her steps were careful, slow. The fog made everything look the same. Trees twisted like shadows. Rocks seemed to shift when she wasn't looking. She followed the sound until she reached a clearing. Her light swept across moss vines and a fallen tree. Then she saw her. A small figure sat at the base of the tree, knees pulled to her chest. Her skin was pale blue, almost glowing in the mist. Her hair was white like snow, tangled and wet, long. Ears peeked from behind the strands. She wore a simple robe, torn at one side. She was no older than 6 or 7, an alien child. Alone, Mira's heart jumped. She knelt down slowly, setting her pack aside. "Hey," she said softly, trying to smile. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up. Her eyes were large and silver, shining like stars. She didn't speak, just stared. Mira didn't move closer. She knew not to scare her. "My name is Mira. I'm human. I won't hurt you." Still no answer. The girl looked down at her feet. Her hands were shaking. Mira looked around. No sign of anyone. No trail. No voice calling for the child. She took off her jacket and held it out. "You're cold. Here, take this." The girl stared at the jacket, then slowly reached out and took it. She wrapped it around herself, still silent. Mira sat beside her, not too close. "Where's your home? Your family?" "Nothing." Mira opened a soft energy bar and broke off a piece. She placed it on a dry rock between them. After a moment, the girl took it. Her hands were thin, her fingers long and delicate. She ate quietly. "You've been out here a long time, haven't you?" Mira whispered. The girl looked up again, and for a moment, Mira thought she saw something behind those silver eyes. Not fear, not confusion, something older, watching. A chill ran down Mira's back. Then the trees moved, not the wind. Something large, something careful. It didn't make sound, but the fog shifted, like it made space for something walking through it. Mira stood, flashlight raised. She saw nothing, but every part of her body screamed danger. The girl stood too, still quiet, still calm. Mira looked at her. "Is someone following you?" The girl nodded once, slow, small. Mira's breath caught. "Okay," she said quickly, kneeling to zip her pack. "We're leaving. We'll find your village. Someone must be looking for you." The girl didn't move. She just stared into the fog behind Myra. Myra turned. Her flashlight flicked. Dim, then bright, then dim again. Shadows shifted in the mist. She grabbed the girl's hand. It was cold, too cold for a living child. But she didn't let go. "Come on," she whispered. They started walking, through trees and roots and low-hanging branches. The girl stayed close, never pulling away. As they walked, the fog seemed to bend around them, like it was watching. Trees whispered, even though there was no wind. And behind them, something followed. Never seen, but always there. Mira spoke softly, mostly to herself. "We'll be fine. We'll find help. We'll get you home." The girl looked up at her and spoke for the first time. One word, maybe. Her voice was soft, musical, ancient. Mira looked down, surprised. "What do you mean, maybe?" The girl didn't answer. They reached a wide stream. The water glowed faintly blue, like everything on this strange planet. Mira looked for a way to cross, but the girl walked forward. She didn't step into the water. She didn't even touch the ground. The water bent beneath her feet like glass. She walked across without a ripple. Myra stood frozen. Then the girl turned back and reached out her hand. "Come," she said. Myra hesitated, then stepped forward. When she touched the girl's hand again, the fog around them suddenly pulled back. It was afraid of her, and in the distance, lights appeared, soft, golden, like lanterns in the trees. A village, but not just any village. This place felt ... older than anything she had seen before, and as they stepped closer, a deep voice echoed in the air around her. "The trial has begun." The map that wasn't their village didn't look like a normal place. It was quiet, too quiet. The houses were made of smooth stone and glowing roots. They looked grown, not built. Soft golden lights hung in the air like floating fireflies. But they didn't move with the wind. They floated still, watching. Mira felt it in her chest. This place wasn't just old. It was alive. The child led her into the village without saying a word. No one came to greet them. No curious faces peeked from behind doors. No footsteps, no voices. They passed through empty streets, lined with symbols carved into the stone, glowing marks. Some looked like stars, others like eyes. Mira's boots echoed softly as she walked. The air felt thick, heavy with silence. "Where is everyone?" she whispered. The child didn't answer. They came to a tall archway made of twisted crystal and vines. The child stopped, turned to Mira, and pointed inside. Mira looked through the arch. A round room, dark, with only a single stone in the center. No furniture, no lights. "You want me to go in there?" The girl nodded. Mira hesitated, but stepped forward. As soon as she crossed the arch, the air inside shifted. The door behind her vanished. It wasn't gone. It was just not there anymore. The girl was gone too. Mira stood still. The room felt endless. Dark, but not black. And then, slowly, light began to rise from the stone in the middle. Symbols glowed all around her, floating in the air, spinning, shifting. Then, suddenly, her digital scanner beeped in her backpack. She pulled it out, shocked. It had been dead since she entered the forest. The scanner screen flickered to life. A map appeared. Lines, paths, dots. But none of it made sense. Mira zoomed in. The map kept shifting, changing shape. It wasn't a map of the village. It was a map of choices, paths, leading not through land, but through moments. Things she had done, things she might do. She saw herself leaving the girl in the forest. She saw herself running away. She saw herself fighting a shadow, dying, and then one path shone brighter than the rest. She saw herself standing beside the child as a crowd bowed. To them, Myra's hand trembled. "What is this?" she whispered. A voice answered, deep, echoing. But there was no one in the room. "This is not your test alone." Myra turned in every direction. "Who's there?" "She is being watched." "But so are you." "Your heart is louder than your steps." Mira backed away. "This is crazy. I'm just a researcher. But you chose to follow. You chose to care. Now you must choose again." The glowing map spun faster. Lines of fire crossed paths. Then everything vanished. Mira gasped as she found herself standing outside the arch again. The child was waiting for her. She blinked. What was that? The girl just turned and started walking. Mira followed, her heart racing. They passed through the village, and slowly, figures began to appear. Not walking, not speaking, just standing. Tall aliens in cloaks, old faces, long ears, glowing eyes, each one watching her silently as she passed. The child never looked at them. Finally, they reached a circle of stones at the edge of the village. Beyond it, the forest began again, but darker this time. The trees looked twisted, sick. The girl sat on one of the stones and pointed at the forest. "We must go through," she said. Mira shook her head. "What's in there?" "Memory. Mira frowned. What? They will show you what you forgot. Before she could ask more, the girl stood and stepped into the dark woods. Mira followed, nerves tight. As soon as they entered, the light vanished. Total darkness swallowed them. Mira switched on her flashlight, but it didn't work. Instead, a soft silver glow came from the girl, and then the whispers started. They didn't come from behind or ahead. They came from inside. Mira heard voices she hadn't heard in years. Her sister, calling for help. Her commander, yelling during the war. Her own voice, saying, I should have saved her. Mira froze. No, she whispered. This isn't real. But it felt real. Sounds, smells, even the cold. She saw herself back on Earth. During the burning of Coast Sector 9, she had failed to reach her sister in time. Her shuttle left. Her sister stayed. The memory crushed her chest. She dropped to her knees. You left her, a voice said from the trees. You'll leave this girl too. No, Myra whispered. The child stepped forward and placed a hand on her back. Her touch pushed the voices away. Not every loss is failure, the girl said softly. The forest began to fade. Light returned. They stood once again on a hill outside the woods. The village behind them. Ahead, a mountain range covered in mist. Mira took a deep breath, wiping her face. That wasn't just a forest, she whispered. No, the girl said. It was the first door. Mira looked at her. How many doors are there? The girl looked at the sky. Enough to know who you really are. And behind them, far away, the village elders watched in silence and took note. Whispers of the elder Mira woke to the sound of slow wind. Her back ached, and her fingers were stiff with cold. The sky above her was gray, not dark, not light, just stuck in between. Like the air couldn't decide if it was morning or evening. The child sat near a small fire. She wasn't warming her hands. She wasn't eating, just watching the flames. Her silver eyes reflected the flickering light like mirrors. Did I sleep? Mira asked, sitting up. The girl nodded. Double quotes, where are we? The girl looked over her shoulder. They sent us a guide. Mira turned. Behind her stood a figure, tall, quiet, robed in long dark fabric that moved like mist. No feet touched the ground. No face beneath the hood. Mira stood slowly, instinct tight in her chest. What are you? She asked. The figure didn't answer. Instead, it turned and began to float toward the mountains. The girl stood and followed. Mira looked up at the peaks ahead. Sharp, black stone, shaped like giant broken teeth. Thunder rumbled above them. There was no sun, only light without a source. This doesn't feel like a trail, Mira muttered. The girl looked at her. It's not. They walked for hours. The path twisted between stone towers and glowing roots. Strange sounds echoed from the cliffs, animal cries that didn't belong to anything Mira knew. Things with too many voices, or none at all. The guide never spoke, but every time Mira slowed down, the guide would stop and wait, as if making sure. She kept choosing to walk forward. Finally, they came to a cave carved into the side of the highest peak. Not natural, the entrance was smooth. Symbols were burned into the rock. Mira's eyes widened. She had seen those symbols before on the girl's skin when she got hurt, in the dream room inside the village, and on the scanner map that showed her own possible deaths. This was the place where it all led. The guide stopped at the entrance and vanished into smoke. Mira felt her stomach turn. What is this place? The child stepped to her side. This is where truth lives. Inside, the cave walls glowed faintly blue. They walked 4 minutes, maybe hours. Time felt strange here. Then they reached a round chamber. A stone circle sat in the center, surrounded by raised seats like a quiet court. 7 elders waited in those seats, tall, thin, their eyes glowing different colors, their faces old, their skin like glass, filled with cracks of light. The child walked forward and stood inside the circle. Mira stayed back, unsure if she was allowed. One of the elders raised a hand. She may join. Mira stepped into the circle. Her footsteps echoed louder than they should have, like the cave was recording her every move. Then, one by one, the elders spoke not with mouths, but inside her mind. You helped the child. You walked through memory. You passed through silence. But the trial is not over. Mira swallowed hard. I never asked for a trial. Trials are not asked. They are given to those who are watched. She felt her breath catch. We did not lose the child. She was sent to be seen, to be understood, to be chosen. Mira looked at the girl, standing calm, hands folded. She's your heir. The elders nodded. She carries the breath of the first flame. Only one may guide her toward the second. Mira frowned. Why me? Because you didn't look at her with fear. Because you followed without reward. Because your pain did not make you cruel. Mira stepped back, her voice shaking. I'm just a human. I'm not part of your people. You can't ask this of me. Yet you are here. And the child has already chosen to walk beside you. The girl looked at Mira and smiled, small, sad, but warm. The air changed. The circle lit up with blue fire, rising but not burning. The elders stood, arms raised. Now the final part begins. You will be tested not by us, but by those who walk in shadows. Mira shouted over the wind. What does that mean? The cave shook. The ground cracked. The elders vanished in light, and the floor dropped. Mira screamed as the stone beneath her feet gave way. She fell down into darkness, then silence, then impact. She hit something soft, moss, dirt. She groaned and sat up. She was in a forest again, but not like before. This forest was black. No light, no color, no sound, except one dash footsteps, fast, broken, running. Mira turned and saw something that made her heart freeze. Her sister, running barefoot through the trees, covered in blood, crying out, Mira, help me. Mira stumbled to her feet. No, this isn't real. But it looked real, sounded real. Please, Mira. Mira ran. Branches tore at her skin. Roots grabbed her boots. The sky above was red now, bleeding light. She saw her sister trip, fall, scream, and something came out of the shadows. Not a beast, not a person, a shape made of memory and guilt. Mira reached her sister and, just as the monster leapt, the child stepped out from the dark. She placed her tiny hand on the monster's chest. It stopped, froze, and dissolved into silver dust. The forest went silent. Mira held her breath. The girl looked at her. You will never lose her again, but only if you stop running from what you remember. Mira fell to her knees. Tears filled her eyes. The child reached out and touched her forehead. In that moment, Mira saw everything. The real trial wasn't about strength. It wasn't about saving the child. It was about being seen, about accepting the pain, and still choosing kindness. Light bloomed around them. The forest melted into sky. They were standing once again at the edge of the village. The elders stood in a line. This time, they bowed and spoke one final whisper. The child has chosen. So have we. The beast in the stone-field wind had changed. Mira felt it the moment they stepped out of the elders' circle. The air was no longer quiet. It buzzed like thousands of silent thoughts were moving through it. The sky above the village was darker now, filled with slow-moving clouds that glowed from inside like storm lanterns. The girl walked beside Mira, silent but sure. Her small hand gently held Mira's fingers. Where are we going now? Mira asked. The girl looked ahead. To the field. The place of stones. The final breath of the trial begins there. Mira frowned. You said the trial ended. Not ended, the girl said softly. Changed. They passed through the village gates again, but this time, it felt like walking out of a dream and into something heavier, older. The path twisted through hills and wild roots until they reached a wide open valley. Strange flat stones were scattered everywhere, large as buildings. Some stood upright like broken towers. Others lay buried halfway in the soil, cracked and blackened. Myra slowed. What happened here? The girl's voice was quiet. A war, long ago, between two kinds of fire, one born of light, and one born of hunger. Mira felt her skin tighten. She looked around. And which kind of fire still lives here? The girl didn't answer. Myra stepped forward, boots crunching over dry moss. Everything was too still. No birds, no wind, only the soft sound of her breathing. Then something moved. Not in front of her, not behind her, below her. She stopped. The ground beneath her left boot shifted. Mira looked down and saw a circle of ancient metal, slowly turning under a layer of stone. It looked like a seal. Glowing red cracks spread out from it before she could step away. The earth split open with a roar. The force knocked Mira back. A massive shape burst from below. Stone, smoke, flame. It wasn't just a beast. It was like a statue had come alive. Glowing red eyes opened in its head too. Then 4, then 6. Long arms cracked free from its sides, and its chest opened like a furnace, filled with burning symbols. Mira rolled and pulled the girl behind one of the giant rocks. "What is that?" she shouted. The girl's voice was calm. "The Watcher, the last guardian of the broken ones. Is it part of the trial?" Mira asked. "No," the girl said. "It is the trial." The creature stomped forward. Each step cracked the stone. Field. Everything stopped. No wind, no sound. The creature froze like a statue. Then the fire inside. Its chest dimmed. The red cracks turned to soft gold. The chains crumbled, and the giant knelt. Its 6 eyes looked at the girl, then at Mira, then it slowly turned and walked back toward the hole it had come from. It lowered itself into the earth and vanished. Mira stood frozen. What just happened? The girl looked at her, calm. "You didn't try to kill it. That was the final part, but I was ready to fight." "Yes," the girl said, "but you chose not to, and that's what made you worthy." Myra looked at the field. It was silent. Again, but different now. The wind had returned. The light above was brighter, and the stones began to glow. Symbols appeared on the ground, paths leading in every direction. Only one glowed gold. The girl took Mira's hand and pointed at the path. "Now," she said softly, "you're ready to walk it with me." Secrets in her blood-glowing path was narrow and strange. It didn't follow the land. Instead, it moved like it was drawing itself in front of them stone by stone, symbol by symbol. The girl walked calmly, as if she had known this road forever. But Myra's steps were slower, heavier. Something had changed inside her since the beast bowed. Not fear, not pride, something deeper, like the feeling just before a storm, when the world holds its breath. The wind whispered now. It carried voices, not loud, not clear, but enough. "Mira," she remembers. The blood sings again. Mira looked at the girl beside her. "What are they saying?" The girl didn't look back. "They're not speaking to me." They walked for an hour, or maybe more. Time bent strangely. Here, the mountains faded behind them. The field vanished into a golden mist. Ahead stood a small structure, simple stone walls and a domed roof covered in vines. But the vines weren't alive. They were fossilized, ancient, like someone had tried to freeze time and bury it. The door was open. They stepped inside. A single table stood in the center, carved from black glass. Above it floated a glowing orb, spinning slowly, casting long shadows across the walls. The shadows weren't random. They moved like memories. Mira stepped forward and saw something inside the orb. A small, glowing shape like a heartbeat made of stars. "What is this place?" she whispered. The girl stepped beside her. "This is the cradle of the chosen. It's where the bloodlines were once awakened, before the silence. Mira looked at her, confused. What silence? The silence that came after the last chieftain tried to control the flame inside the children, when power was treated like a weapon instead of a gift. Mira stared at the orb. So, this is where you were born? No, the girl said. This is where I was meant to be born. But they were afraid. Of what my blood remembers. The orb pulsed. Mira stepped closer, and the heartbeat inside reacted. It beat faster, brighter. The girl looked at her with soft, sad eyes. Your blood sings too. Mira shook her head. I'm human, not like you. But you are not only human. Not anymore. Mira frowned. What are you saying? The girl walked to the black table. She placed her hand on it, and a beam of golden light scanned her palm. The orb above flickered. Symbols appeared in the images of other children, other trials, other centuries. Faces filled the air. Leaders, guardians, warriors, and in the middle of all of them, a woman with short hair, earth armor, and Mira's face, but older, more tired, more powerful, more powerful. Mira stepped back. That's not me. The girl looked at her. That was a version of you. From the first time humanity touched this place. Mira couldn't speak. Her hands were shaking. Your ancestors were chosen before, the girl said. But they turned away. They were not ready. Their minds were strong, but their hearts were afraid. Mira whispered. Then why did you call me here again? Because we need someone who remembers pain, and still chooses hope. The orb spun faster, and the ground shook. The table cracked. Mira grabbed the girl, and pulled her back. A pool of light formed where the table had stood. From it rose a figure not alive, not dead. A projection, an ancient voice, filled the chamber. Initiator found. Bloodline matched. Protocol Omega Sky unlocked. Do you accept the bond? Mira's heart pounded. What bond? She shouted. The voice answered. A bond of flame. Protector and future. Guide and chosen. She carries the seed. You carry the soil. Will you walk beside her until her reign begins? Mira looked at the girl. What happens if I say yes? You become more, the girl said. But you can never go back. The air held its breath. Mira closed her eyes and stepped forward. Yes, she said. Light exploded from the orb. The chamber filled with warmth and sound. Thousands of voices echoed. Not word songs. Songs from stars, from trees, from winds. Long dead. Mira fell to her knees. Pain shot through her body. Her blood felt like it was on fire, but not burning. More like it was waking up. Images filled her mind. Children with golden eyes. Worlds built on peace. A war that broke them, and the promise of one more chance. The light faded. Mira opened her eyes. She was still on her knees, but she wasn't the same. Her veins glowed faintly, not red but gold. Her skin pulsed with soft light. The girl helped her up. You are part of the line now, she said. What does that mean? You can protect me, or destroy me. The power is shared. Mira stood, still shaking. And what do I do with it? The girl looked at her with a smile. You lead. Suddenly, the orb dimmed. A new sound entered the room. A horn, distant, cold, sharp. The girl's face went pale. They know, she whispered. Mira grabbed her arm. Who knows? The old blood, the girl said. Those who were cast out. Long ago, they've been waiting for the bond to return. The chamber cracked. Dust fell from the ceiling. Mira pulled her toward the door. Then we leave. Now. As they ran, the black fossil vines began to move again, shaking, cracking, waking. Outside. The sky had changed. Ships dark, massive. No symbols, no light, just shadows, coming fast. Mira turned to the girl. Can you run? The girl's eyes glowed, like never before. No, she said calmly, but I can fly. And together, they rose into the wind, into a new war neither of them had asked for. but both had been born to face the final questionante. Sky burned red dot from the edge of the mountains to the far ends of the clouds. Dark ships covered the sky like hungry insects. No lights, no flags, no names, just death, made of metal and silence. Mira and the girl stood on the highest cliff above the village. Wind tore through their hair. Behind them, the stone field glowed weakly. The sacred chamber had gone quiet, and the last songs had faded. The old blood had returned. They know about the bond, the girl said quietly. Mira didn't speak. Her fists were clenched. Will they try to stop us? She asked. The girl nodded. They already are. Down below, shadows moved between trees. They weren't soldiers, not like human soldiers. These were creatures shaped by anger and old betrayal. Their skin was dark gray, like ash hardened into armor, eyes bright white, long claws. Their weapons pulsed with black energy that made the ground wither where they stepped. They were once guardians, but they had chosen control over compassion, strength over soul, and now they wanted the child, not to lead, but to own. Mira turned to the girl. How many? Hundreds, the girl whispered. More are still coming. Can the elders fight? The girl shook her head. They are watchers now. Their time for battle has passed. If they lift weapons again, their souls will burn away. Mira stared at the oncoming army. She had no gun, no ship, no armor, just a girl. And a promise. Then the wind changed. A shape flew in from the distant cloud, something fast and dark, and screaming toward them like a falling star. Mira grabbed the girl and jumped aside just as the ground exploded. The dust cleared from the crater. Rose a figure in black and silver armor taller than any human, with 6 arms and a blade in each one. His voice was deep and cold. You are not of this blood, he said, looking at Myra. You are not chosen. Myra stepped forward. I was. He tilted his head. You bonded with the seed. Her name is not Seed, Mira snapped. Her name is real, and she's not yours. His arm spun the blades. Then die with her. He lunged. Mira ducked. Fast. Too fast. Her body moved like it remembered things she had never learned. She grabbed a rock and struck one of his blades aside. His swing broke the cliff behind her. Stone flying dot. Mira turned and jumped onto his chest, punching the armor with a golden fist. The suit cracked. The energy in her blood glowed. The man growled and threw her off. She hit the ground hard, coughing. But the girl had raised her hands now, and the sky obeyed. Lightning shot down from the clouds, striking the cliff, blinding white. The enemy screamed. When the light faded, the armored figure was gone. Only a black mark remained. Mira stood slowly. Was that you? The girl's eyes glowed like fire. That was us. They returned to the village. The elders stood waiting behind them. The people had gathered, mothers, children, old warriors. No one spoke. Only the sound of the sky rumbling. One elder stepped forward. They will come in full force. We cannot run. Myra looked around. Then we make them regret coming. The elder bowed. You lead now. Mira shook her head. No, not alone. She looked at the girl. She leads. I follow. The villagers raised their hands, crossing arms across their chests, the sign of sacred honor. A voice rose in the crowd. A song, then more joined. A song of the old blood, but reformed. Mira turned to the girl. We need a plan. The girl nodded. They will send an offer first. An offer to surrender. An hour passed. Then a ship landed, sleek, black, silent dot. From it came 3 figures tall, pale, dressed in robes woven from silver wires. They walked slowly toward the village square. Myra and the girl stood waiting. We offer peace, the tallest one said. If you release the child, she's not a prisoner. Mira replied. You misunderstand, he said. You are. Mira stepped forward. No, you're the ones afraid, because you can't control her anymore. She's a child, the second figure said. She knows nothing of rule. She knows more than you ever did, Mira said. She leads through kindness, not fear. The figures looked at each other. Then you choose death. Mira looked around at the villagers. No, she said. We choose truth. The sky opened. The army dropped from the clouds. Like rain, ships landed on the outer fields. Monsters, soldiers, machines with legs. Like towers, Myra stood beside the girl in the center of the village. They were outnumbered, but not unread. Myra turned to the girl. Before this begins, I need to ask. The girl looked up. Yes, if I stay, I can't go back. To Earth. To my life. The girl nodded. Myra's single quotes us voice cracked. Why me? Why did you choose me? The girl stepped close and took her hand. Because when you saw me in the rain, you didn't walk away. Myra closed her eyes. Behind her, ships screamed before her. Hope stood with tiny hands and ancient eyes. I choose you, Myra whispered, and the girl smiled. The village roared with golden light, every stone lit with symbols. The air bent. End. The last war.